ran out of hotspot data, so I don't have regular Wi-Fi in my house. That's why I use my hotspot data. And normally I do, what song should I play? But today it's going to be different. I've been wanting to go live like this, just talking to the camera, because I've been going through some really interesting mental developments with my own mind and with my story. But my story is a completely different subject than what I've been developing, comparatively to what I've been developing within myself. And I've been really, really also studying the painter Raphael. Raphael's one of my most, I find him very interesting. He's, wow, yeah, wow. That reminded me of that meme. All right, let me see here. Let's get closer. There we go. Yeah, I'm still alive. Should be interesting to see how that turned out later on. All right, let's see if I can adjust the. All right. Anyways, so I'm gonna actually do what I wanted to do here when I went live. It's been a year since I discovered and read the Kabbalion. This book is super dope, man. You could be Christian and still read this and not feel weird, because it's not evil. It's just spiritual teachings that people went, oh, we don't really need to look at that, because the importance of Christianity. We don't really need to look at that crap. That's what a lot of people are doing nowadays, especially with very interesting books like the Kabbalion. What is the Kabbalion? Hermetic philosophy, and it's written by what they call the Three Initiates. Woo! I love this little book. So I'm going to read from the Kabbalion tonight, and it's chapter 10, and it's called Polarity. This is super interesting stuff, dude. The law of polarity, the Hermetic law of polarity. You might be able to kind of figure out what that means just by me talking about it here, just by the title. So I'm going to get into it here. Polarity. I think that was thunder. Did you hear that? That was cool. Anyway, polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Oh! Bars. All right. The great fourth Hermetic principle, the principle of polarity, embodies the truth that all manifested things have two sides, two aspects, two poles, a pair of opposites, with manifold degrees between the two extremes. The old paradoxes, which have ever perplexed the mind of men, are explained by an understanding of this principle. Man has always recognized something akin to this principle, and has endeavored to express it by saying such things, maxims and aphorisms, as the following. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything. There is a reverse side to every shield, etc., etc. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the difference between things seemingly diametrically opposed to each other is merely a matter of degree. It teaches the pairs of opposites may be reconciled, and that thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree, and that the universal reconciliation of opposites is effected by a recognition of this principle of polarity. The teachers claim that illustrations of this principle may be had on every hand, and from an examination into the real nature of anything, they begin by showing that spirit and matter are but the two poles of the same thing, the intermediate planes being merely degrees of vibration. They show that the all and the many are the same, the difference being merely a matter of degree of mental manifestation. Thus the law and the laws are the two opposite poles of one thing. Likewise, principle and principles, infinite mind and finite minds. Then, passing on to the physical plane, they illustrate the principle by showing that heat and cold are identical in nature, the differences being merely a matter of degrees. The thermometer shows many degrees of temperature, the lowest pole being cold and the highest heat. Between these two poles are many degrees of heat or cold. Call them either, and you are equally correct. The higher of the 2 degrees is always warmer, while the lower is always colder. There is no absolute standard. All is a matter of degree. There's no place on the thermometer where heat ceases and cold begins. It is all a matter of higher or lower vibrations. The very terms high and low, which we are compelled to use, are but poles of the same thing. The terms are relative. So with east and west. Travel around the world in the eastern direction, and you reach a point which is called west at your starting point. And you return from westward point, travel far enough north, and you will find yourself traveling south, or vice versa. So cool. Light and darkness are poles of the same thing, with many degrees between them. The musical scale is the same. Starting with C, you move upward until you reach another C, and so on. The differences between the two ends of the board being the same, with many degrees between the two extremes. The scale of color is the same, higher and lower vibrations being the only difference between high violet and low red. Large and small are relative, so are noise and quiet. Hard and soft follow the rule. Likewise, sharp and dull. Positive and negative are 2 poles of the same thing, with countless degrees between them. Good and bad are not absolute. We call one end of the scale good and the other bad, or one end good and the other evil. According to the use of the terms, a thing is less good than the thing higher in the scale, but that less good thing in turn is more good than the thing next below it, and so on. The more or less being regulated by the position on the scale. And so it is on the mental plane. Love and hate are generally regarded as being things diametrically opposed to each other, entirely different, unrecognizable. But when we apply the principle of polarity, we find that there is no such thing as absolute love or absolute hate, as distinguished from each other. The two are merely terms applied to the 2 poles of the same thing. Beginning at any point of the scale, we find more love or less hate. As we ascend the scale, and more hate or less love. As we descend, this being true no matter from what point, high or low, we may start. There are degrees of love and hate, and there is a middle point where like and dislike become so faint that it is difficult to distinguish between them. Courage and fear come under the same rule. The pairs of opposites exist everywhere. Where you find one thing, you find its opposite, the 2 poles. And it is this fact that enables the Hermeticist to transmute one mental state into another, along the lines of polarization. Oh, yeah, boy. It's talking about like Jedi mind tricks here. I'm going to read it one more time. I'm going to reread the really good sentences. And it is this fact that enables the Hermeticist to transmute one mental state into another along the lines of polarization. Being aware of polarization actually allows you to better understand how to control and master your own mind. Things belonging to different classes cannot be transmuted into each other. But things of the same class may be changed. That is, may have their polarity changed, the degrees. Thus, love never becomes east or west, or red or violet, but it may often, and does, turn into hate, and likewise. Hate may be transformed into love by changing its polarity. Courage may be transmuted into fear, and the reverse. Hard things may be rendered soft, dull things become sharp, hot things become cold, and so on. The transmutation always being between things of the same kind of different degrees. Take the case of a fearful man. By raising his mental vibrations along the line of fear, courage, he can be filled with the highest degree of courage and fearlessness. And likewise, the slothful man may change himself into an active, energetic individual simply by polarizing along the lines of the desired quantity. Being aware of the quantity between the two levels of polarity and degrees allows you to aim for a desired quality between the both levels of polarity and degrees. The student who is familiar with the process by which the various schools of mental science, etc., produce changes in the mental states of those following their teachings may not readily understand the principle underlying many of these changes. When, however, the principle of polarity is once grasped, and it is seen that the mental changes are occasioned by a change of polarity, a sliding along the same scale, the matter is more readily understood. Exactly! When you're aware of both ends of a particular class of emotion or thought process or physicality, you can more easily traverse from one polarity to the other. It makes the path from turning hate into love easier if you're aware of how close love and hate truly are, and how love and hate are upon the same scale. So when you hate someone, you can eventually love them because it's on the same scale. And you can actually really love someone and it changes to hate because of the rule of polarity. It's the class of love and hate, the class of fear and courage. Jesus loves you so much. You were made in the image of the one true living God. That's right. You're absolutely right. Jesus was God on earth, and he died for our sins, allowing us to experience everlasting life and to live a righteous life living by his word. That's right. And you know it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Let me see here. I lost my spot. Let's see. When, however, the principle is once grasped. Here we go. Okay. The change is not in the nature of transmutation of one thing into another thing entirely different, but merely a change of degree in the same things. A vastly important difference. For instance, borrowing an analogy from the physical plane, it is impossible to change heat into sharpness, loudness, highness, etc. But heat may readily be transmuted into cold, simply by lowering the vibrations. In the same way, love and hate are manually transmuted. So are fear and courage. But fear cannot be transformed into love, nor can courage be transmuted into hate. The mental states belong to innumerable classes, each class of which has its opposite poles, along which transmutation is possible. Oh! Let's go! It's saying you can change hate into love and love into hate, and fear into courage and courage into fear. All right. The student will readily recognize that in the mental states, as well as in the phenomena of the physical plane, the two poles may be classified as positive and negative, respectively. Thus, love is positive to hate, courage to fear, activity to non-activity, etc., etc. It will also be noticed that even to those unfamiliar with the principle of polarity, the positive pole seems to be of a higher degree than the negative, and readily dominates it. Dope. That's sick. The tendency of nature is in the direction of the dominant activity of the positive pole. I'm going to read that one more time. The tendency of nature is in the direction of the dominant activity of the positive pole. Yeah! That's right. So it's like it's saying nature naturally goes to the positive pole. Okay, anyway, yeah, man. Yeah, the Kabbalion, yeah. Okay. In addition to the changing of the poles of one's own mental states by the operation of the art of polarization, the phenomena of mental influence in its manifold phases shows us that the principle may be extended so as to embrace the phenomena of the influence of one mind over that of another. Okay. Basically saying, if you go to a concert and you all love the music, you're all going to be enjoying it probably equally together. I think that's what it's getting at. Because one mind influence can influence another. So when you communicate or feel a way someone's feeling in a song, then you can all most likely we all can enjoy songs together. If you're able to make a beautiful song that everyone loves, then you're influencing the minds of other people. That's like a magical, real psychological thing that you can master. And that's what this book is letting you know. That's insane. Of which so much has been written and taught of late years. Now this is where it gets real crazy. When it is understood that mental induction is possible, that is, that mental states may be produced by induction from others, then we can readily see how a certain rate of vibration or polarization of a certain mental state may be communicated to another person. And is polarity in that class of mental states thus changed? Holy crap! That's like Jedi level stuff right there. Saying you can change people's mind states if you're aware of the mental poles between love and hate and fear and courage. And if you're aware of how they feel by what you say, then you can manipulate how people feel because you know how their mind works if you're aware of the principle of polarization between fear and love and hate and all of that. Oh, God. I just gave you some really deep, creepy shit. All right, anyway, it is along this principle that the results of many of the mental treatments are obtained. Okay, one more time. It is along this principle that the results of many of the mental treatments are obtained. Mental treatments. God! How are you supposed to, it's saying that the mental treatment is how you're able to induct different degrees of vibration into other people's minds by understanding how the mind works using the law of polarity. Being aware of the law of polarity is very wild because you can actually influence other people's minds. It's like an uncomfortable thought in a way because you don't want to influence other people's minds. You want to be in control of your own mind and vibe with other people the way they are. There's no way to change how other people feel besides making something that other people will enjoy, like what you can create through music. All right. For instance, a person is blue, melancholy, and full of fear. A mental scientist, bringing his own mind up to the desired vibration of his trained will, and thus obtaining the desired polarization in his own case, then produces a similar mind state in the other by induction. The result being that the vibrations are raised and the person polarizes toward the positive end of the scale instead of toward the negative, and his fear and other negative emotions are transmuted to courage and similar positive mental states. So it's like basically saying that a good song will make you feel good. That's kind of how I'm interpreting this. Whoa. Instead of being their servant and slave. Wow, I'm going to read that one more time. He will see that these states are all matters of degree, and seeing thus, he will be able to raise or lower the vibration at will, to change his mental poles, and thus be master of his mental states, instead of being their servant and slave. And by his knowledge, he will be able to aid his fellows intelligently, and by the appropriate methods, change the polarity when the same is desirable. We advise all students to familiarize themselves with the principle of polarity, for a correct understanding of the same will throw light on many difficult subjects. That's the principle of polarity in the Kabbalion. I found that chapter to be the most impactful and compelling chapter. I'm glad I just read it to you. Now I want to talk about something different. There's a guy who goes by the name Aristotle. He was the student of Plato. Plato! No, I mean the philosopher Plato. Plato is the guy who let everyone know who Socrates was, because Socrates never wrote anything down. Plato said how Socrates was his master. Basically, Plato was like, hey, this Socrates guy is cool. I want to hang out with him and talk with him a lot because he's a really interesting individual to talk to. He always wants to know what you're really about. He won't stop asking you questions until you understand yourself. And that's what Socrates was trying to do, make people understand themselves by asking them questions constantly and driving people nuts. They're like, look, man, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. And Socrates is like, but you should get into it. Get into it with me, dog. And everyone's like, we got to get rid of this guy. And the emperor's just like, I can't stand your crap anymore. But anyways, that's Socrates for you. He was the guy who admitted he didn't know anything because he wanted to know everything. Dope. And he wanted to help people know more things. So that's something that's worth appraising. That's why Socrates is a legendary philosopher. He's like the bedrock of philosophy and Greek philosophy, Roman philosophy. Anyways, Aristotle was Plato's boy. Basically, like Plato's saying like this is absolute truth of the logos of the universe. And Aristotle's like, this is how we interact with the logos in the universe and how things kind of work alongside of divine logos. And they're like, oh, okay. That's kind of what Plato and Aristotle do. So something very interesting that Aristotle was talking about were these three things that are very, very helpful for you to understand how to live your life in a really analytical, polarizing way. But when I say polarizing, I mean the class, like in the Kabbalion. Understanding what sections of life are what. You know? The mental plane, the physical plane, and in the heart. Mental, physical, heart. Right? And the way that Aristotle described these things was logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos is logic, but it's an emptier phrase of saying logic. It's an ancient way of saying logic. So when you use logic in order to solve a problem, like things that you've gathered evidence about, and because you have evidence about it, you're able to actually solve something based on the evidence. That's called using logic, right? It's being inferential. It's using gathered evidence from something you have proof of that you witnessed. That's how you activate. That's how you become inferential. You can infer that something's true based on logic, right? So that's what logos is. It's understanding things using logic. Now, there's two parts of logos. Your logos, how you understand things and how you are continuously putting the frameworks together in your life, that's what your logos is, right? Then there's divine logos. And now your regular logos is what's having to decipher what you consider to be the divine logos. What is the divine logos? It's what you can experience as God talking to you. How can you begin to understand what God is saying to you? It's you deciphering between your logos and a divine logos within your own logos, using your own logos to define the difference within yourself. And if you're able to activate that, to actually recognize it, right? To recognize between what's regular logos and what's divine logos, then you can actually begin living in a meaningful way, a meaningful life. Perhaps working with children or people who genuinely need help. This is why Christians will say that they're going to help people who are in need, because they're recognizing the divine logos from within. That is what they say is the voice of God. That's how you can find the voice of God, distinguishing and deciding what you believe is the divine logos from within. You are transmitting messages from God. Because if you believe what God is, in the Christian sense, is that he is the creator of everything and the force of goodness, the opposite of death. He's the life bringer. He brings life into existence. He's three. He's not the number one or the dualistic nature. He's the thing on top of the dualistic nature. He's the three. He's the gain. He's the growth. He's the plant. He's the thing that created it all. No one else is worthy. Because nobody is above God. No fictional universe you can imagine. God is above it all. Everything, dude. So anyways, what pleases the creator of life? Helping the life that's in need of help. That's you deciphering the divine logos. Pleasing God. You deciphering what will please God through your actions. Now, but it's not the actions yet, though, because now we're going to go from what I mentioned earlier. We're going to go from logos to eros. Now, eros is your actions. Eros is, well, someone's, like, say you're watching me right now, and man, I'm thirsty. Me drinking that water is part of my eros. It's character. It's my actions that shape who I am. That's your eros. It's what makes you characterized. It's how you characterize yourself through your actions in life. What is your eros? What are other people's idea of your eros, right? Very interesting. And your eros is determined upon how you act out your logos. Coronavirus. Okay. Do you have the coronavirus? Is that why you're saying that? I don't have the coronavirus, thank God. And if you are sick, then I hope that healing happens within your life very soon. All right. Anyway, you want to find a way to make the distinction between your logos and the divine logos and aspire to the divine logos and show people how you live that divine logos. And how you're doing that is your eros. So women are attracted to the eros, your actions, your characterization, how you've characterized yourself, right? It's an interesting notion. And it's how attraction works, I think. Like, I will naturally love a girl who's naturally as interested in art as I am, or understanding these kinds of pieces of philosophy as I am, right? That's attractive to me because that's something I can actually get to the heart about with somebody, because I feel the urge to want to get to the heart of things with people who I care about. Because what better way to talk about things you care about than with people who you care about? You know, like that. That's what is attractive to me. The ability to do that with somebody. And talking about these things like logos, eros, and pathos, and how to recognize those types of things in our lives and how we can apply them, that is worth talking about with somebody, to me. You know? And so, funny enough, me explaining all that is my pathos. Pathos is the heart of it. For example, if you look at a painting, and you understand the story of the painting, it's some kind of biblical painting perhaps, and you feel an emotion when you see the painting, there's no speech bubbles, there's no writing, there's nothing giving you the explanation, but when you look at the painting, you experience an emotion. That is the painting's pathos. You can feel the pathos of it. It's the emotion you feel. That's why visual storytelling is so cool, because it's a blatant display. It's not blatant. I'd say it's a clear display of experiencing the pathos of something. It's the heart of things. It's what we do for the sake of care for others and for ourselves. You know? It's the feeling of it. That's the pathos. It's the feeling part of life. Like how good it feels to watch a new good movie or something where you see some kind of resolution happen where you can feel the emotion of something. That's the movie's pathos. You want to leave pathos in the world, don't you? Right? You want to make your pathos strong. You want people to feel it. You want people to feel the pathos in their life. And you can do that by focusing on what you can do to decipher between your logos and the divine logos. Start deciphering it now, every day, if you could. If I was a billionaire, if I could do whatever I wanted in life, then I would be deciphering the divine logos as much as I could so that I can live the most meaningful and positive life that I possibly can live. That will also increase, the eros of my life. So hopefully that when somebody knows the story of my life, they'll become inspired by it, right? Because that's how well we're able to show our eros to people. And with how well you're able to do that is the message of the pathos, the thing that actually creates meaning. And because the emotion is what creates meaning and logic and how we put things together and what's worth our time while we're alive on this planet, right? That is determined by our pathos because it makes us feel a certain way and brings us closer to the higher vibration of life. All right, so I think that's a pretty good lesson. I hope that I somehow translated that in a translatable way. And I don't know, I just find this stuff very, very interesting. And I'm just going to keep on blabbering because I have nothing else going on. It's 10 at night. And tomorrow I'm going to have a great day. I already know because cool things are going to happen tomorrow. And I'm also starting at my new job very soon. So it's going to be a very exciting experience doing that. All right. Anyways, I'm curious to see how bad my upload speed is. Yeah, so in the meantime, I'll just play my flute. Let's see. I want to get better at playing it. Yeah. Yo, I remember you. What's up? What's up, Mr. Flores? It's nice to see you. Yeah. I remember you said your real name before. I wish I wrote it down at the time. I was actually trying to write it down, but then I had a red napkin with a red pen. And I was like, are you shitting me? I remember you. That was probably the best I've ever played with this, by the way. That was actually sick. I'm so glad I got that filmed. Dope. Yeah. All right. That was really peaceful, too. I actually, Angel! Yes, that's right. Yeah, now I remember. That's right. Ha 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 ha. That's so cool. Heck yeah, man. I appreciate you reminding me. That's kind of sick.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway. I just went to the black hole in my mind. I don't know what's up with that. All right, let me check this out. I just want to play this more now because that inspired me. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, cool, man. Much love. Heck yeah. Do you do gaming videos? That's a good question. I do not do gaming videos. I'm an artist. The thing I do is I'll occasionally post something that interests me, or I like to talk about esoteric knowledge and religious stuff and whatever's spiritually stimulating. I like to also show people my artwork. My artwork is primarily what this channel is meant for. I'm still creating my next book that goes by the title Sid the Sorcerer. Yeah, dude, I can't wait till it's done. I say it every time. It's gonna be the greatest project I've ever created in my entire life. I've been working on it for about 10 years, almost 10 years. It's between 7 and 10 years I've been working on this one particular project that I've been documenting on my YouTube channel, Sid the Sorcerer. It's gonna be the most dope project ever, man. This is gonna be part 1 because I've been working on it for so long that I got a part 2 in the back of my mind. I know people who play Roblox, but I do not play Roblox. I do not play games. I draw instead. I do artwork instead of gaming. I made that as a covenant within myself. But to be fair, I own a PlayStation 2 and my Switch broke. And I'm also huge into old games because I'm 34 years old. I'm turning 35 this year. And I've always enjoyed Nintendo, especially the Nintendo 64. Very special place in my heart, you know, Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda. What about this in the morning? When you do the live stream, you get Roblox. I meant, and we could play Roblox together, only if you have voice chat. That's a nice sentiment, dude. That's cool. But I don't really play games. And also, I hate to say it this way, I actually don't pay for Wi-Fi at my house, and I only use my hotspot on my phone, and that's how I'm able to use my laptop at my house. So if I want to use the internet, I go somewhere where I would do my art, which is somewhere at like a coffee shop or something. Like when I say coffee shop, I mean Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. I primarily use Dunkin' Donuts. And I use my computer for purely productive reasons. And I typically consume regular media and try to make it so that a lot of my time is spent on making my graphic novel better and better. Yeah, sorry, brother. It's the love of the games that makes it harder for when other people don't play the games, because why don't you just play the games? It's really fun. It's a great thing, like, you get to hang out with your friends, you get to collect items and make your character cool, and you get to make stuff. You know, there's funny things that happen in the game. Like, why don't you just play games, man? I get it, but I create Sid the Sorcerer. That's my number one favorite thing to do. And my graphic novel's up to 120 pages now. And it's gonna keep on growing, dude. And it's gonna be an incredible project when it's done. And I think that has everything to do with part of what I try to get at with my live streams, which is living in a way so that you leave an imprint even when you're gone. That's really a big part of the psychological reason of why I decide to create graphic novels. I'm going to go ask my cousin, City Anna, can you just wait for a bit? Pause the video. That's funny you say pause the video, because I'm just live. I'm live. I'm just sitting here talking, dude. You can go and do whatever you want, and I'm not gonna go anywhere yet. I typically stay on for about an hour nowadays. I used to stay on for about a half hour, but now I stay on for about an hour. So you can go and do whatever you need to do. I'm just gonna be here, and I'll probably keep playing my flute. I want to get better. And also, I'm alone here, so I'm allowed to play my flute at 10 p.m. at night. That's a luxury, and I'm aware of that, you know. Of course. Yeah. All right, let me see. Ooh. When you're closer to the notes, and how you go up and down the scale seems to be how you can make something sound interesting or something that's more pleasing to the ear. That's what I noticed, right? I like that. Do, do, do. I lost my finger. That's going from the lowest to the highest note on my dad's phone. Cool. I'm on my own phone. I got that super duper, extra exclusive, miniature badooper, gacooper paflooper, mega super mega splash blast. I don't know. The reason why I said that is because there's this, hey, I'm back. What's up, dude? Nice to see you. Man, I'm thinking about how I want to get a snack. Hold on one second here. Life hacks! Hell yeah! Life hacks make your life easier! No way! Way! Do you remember me? Hey, I'm back. Do I remember? Let me see. I kind of remember you. Scoose 9. Wait a minute. I feel like I liked your name last time I saw you. I was like, Scoose! Or something like that. Let me see. I'm going to write it down too. I have to keep writing people's names down because I'm like, I do remember you, but I want to make sure I remember you. Who is a exclamation? Who is a exclamation? Well, if someone's an exclamation point, then that means they're being like, or extreme surprise. Very classic comic phrase. What the? That's the exclamation point in physical word form. What the? All right, let me see here. Or simply shouting very loudly. That's really what it is, right? Shouting very loudly, like Goku with the Kamehameha. Or, I'm not your lover! Stuff like that. Yeah. When I was saying life hacks, I'm saying life hacks because you can get these peanuts right here, Dollar Tree, $1.25. I've had the same container for like a whole week, dude. It's lasting me a whole week. It's not even that bad for you. It's not gonna kill you like freaking Doritos and all the other shit. What should I watch, Goku? Star Trek, The Next Generation. That's the best answer. Write my name down. Angel. I did. I got it. Check it out. That's funny. Angel and Scoops. There it is. It's the proof. The proof is in the pudding. I don't eat pudding, dude. But I'm not saying I'm not going to not keep it if I don't eat pudding. Okay? Yeah, so what I was trying to say is this is the shit. You get peanuts instead of Doritos and chips that make you feel like crap and actually make you experience diarrhea, bro. This shit doesn't make you experience diarrhea. It's pure protein. This thing's freaking... Hold on. It's 8 grams per serving. It's a quarter cup. This right here is 1 serving. Play tried to find your video all the time, but I just can't. Like, I go to YouTube and try to find your live streams, but sometimes when I see ASMR, I just can't resist it. Knock that shit. Or the... Did you feel that? Did you feel that? They should have a choking ASMR. I typically try to live stream every night. I try to live stream around 9. But I've been lacking energy recently because I've been working out a lot. I've been working out a lot. And then I get tired. That's literally my excuse, okay? I'm sorry. I work out and I get real tired. I really do. Thanks, man. You gotta work out. You have to. Because there's gonna be a day where there's gonna be a genuine asshole. We all have to... I'm 34 years old, and I'll tell you, man, by the time you end up my age and you're a dude, you have to have muscle power, brother. Like, if you're 34 like me, and I see another kid that's like, younger than me, but he's more built than me, immediately it's like, what? Like, I better start doing push-ups as soon as I get home because that 19-year-old kid looks like he could kick my ass. Like, that should already be enough motivation for realsies. Because eventually there's going to be a guy who's a genuine asshole who you can't fight, who will just be someone who's going to try to steal your girl or something. Literally, like, crazy shit like that happens in life just because there's dudes who are like, I will fuck you up. And you're just like, well, you gotta be ready for the guys who are like, I'm gonna fuck you up. You gotta watch out. You literally have to watch out because some girls are like, oops, I forgot to tell you, I have a boyfriend. He's an ex-military guy and he's super jacked and he knows karate. Huh? He does? Yeah, he was in the army. His dad was in the army. Sorry. Like, you literally need to be strong, or else. Imagine you're walking down the street with your girl and there's just some super jack guy and he just pushes you. He's like, little bitch. He just pushes you over. That sucks. And your girlfriend's gonna go, ugh. He just got pushed over by that guy. You asshole! Now I'm less attracted to him. Fuck you! I'm secretly mad that you got pushed over and you look like a pussy-ass bitch. That's the reality of it, dog. You gotta be ready. You gotta have to know how to fucking protect yourself and say, fuck you. Literally, you really have to have that ability because if you don't, then someone else is gonna do it and you're gonna feel like you're a bitch. And you can't let that shit happen. You can't. Be strong. Be strong. Sorry, I'm going crazy. It's because I know people who I care about, who I want to be strong The people who I care about, I want them to be strong. Because you have to take care of yourself. It's a way of taking care of yourself, especially if you're an older dude like me, man. Like, imagine if I just didn't work out at all and I was this skinny. That's not good. Like, my metabolism's really fast. It's crazy fast. I can eat 3 or 4 meals a day and it won't make a dent. I will not gain fat. And it's a curse. It's seriously a curse for me because I look like a skinny bitch. I hate it. Little kids say that I'm a kid. I don't need to be learning that stuff for. Little kids that say that I'm a kid. Huh. Well, if a kid calls another kid a kid, then he's insinuating that he's somehow not as kid. He's somewhere along the line of being lesser or more kid if somebody else who's a kid calls you a kid. So he's like, he might be saying that he's less of a kid by calling another kid a kid. But that's not necessarily true because it's self-deprecating humor, right? Because it's a joke. Like if I was in elementary school or something and a kid was like, "Hey, what's up, kid?" You're like, "Kid? You're calling me kid? We're kids, man." Like, you're self-aware enough to know, yo, like, you don't have to call me kid. We're both kids, dude. Like, hey, I'm 6 and you're 7. We're both kids. I don't care if you're 1 year older than me. It makes no difference, dude. It's such. And I was like, yes, it does. It's a difference because I am older. 1 year. 1 year older. It's true, but that doesn't actually matter. I don't know, man. It kind of does. The early years are very formative. So make sure that if you are younger, for whatever, because this is a live stream, people of all ages come onto my live stream. So if you are younger, then don't worry as much, man. Enjoy life as best you can and have a good time. And when you see somebody who needs help them, because you'll actually be happy that you helped them. And people are not out to get you. People tend to say things sometimes that they don't mean because they are experiencing confusion. They're confused. Sometimes we can feel confused. It's okay. Sometimes we feel confused. And when we feel confused, it's, no, I am a kid. Right. Yeah, so I'm just explaining now, when we get confused, we have to be patient because the only way to lessen confusion is by giving ourselves time, allowing yourself to have the time that you need to gain more awareness, to gain a sense of clarity over the sense of confusion, because only time will heal between the moment where you feel confused to the moment where you're able to actually feel more clear. That's the only true thing. It's the patience. And how well you're able to wait for yourself and also be aware of how you feel, then the more accordingly you can act, right? And the more accordingly you can act to how you feel inside, then the more careful and the more caring and compassionate you can become. Because that's essentially what we want to do for one another. And it's something that we aspire to do, right? Because typically, if you don't aspire, then you won't necessarily cause anything that will be memorable, So what you need to do is you have to show love first sometimes, right? And when I say show love first, it means if somebody is in need or you have the ability to help somebody and you can see it, and you actually feel like you want to do something that's worth living for, then that's what's going to satisfy that need. And that's what brings the compassion. It's you having to show that love first. And people recognize when you show love first, but not in a way that makes it so that you will automatically do something just because somebody asks. You also have the mastery of your own mind, and you can fully apply that. And the way you can fully apply that is by being aware of your own self-regulation, being aware of what temperature you're at. Are you hot inside, right? Are you calm inside? Are you seeing straight, or are you not seeing straight at all? You're my 13th reason why. Heck yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad. I want to continue to be that kind of person for people. That's what we should all be striving to, I think, right? Deciphering how we can possibly be the best version of ourselves by determining between our logos versus the divine logos. And doing the compassionate stuff is deciphering between the logos and the divine logos. All right. It's almost an hour, and I got 9 likes. That's pretty cool. And I'll stay on for a moment more. So, I'll say something that Mr. Rogers once said. There's something that people want to know, right? That people need, that feel like they need to know, which is, are they lovable, and can they love? That is so deep and so important. And Mr. Rogers said, you are lovable, and you can be loved, and you can love other people. I'll leave that on that. Much love, anyone who might be on the chat, and have many blessings. Hope you had a great Sunday. Peace to you.